Okay, so we're gonna try to squeeze people in. Okay.
Thank you.
Är du intresserad av att vara på det här var
Okay.
It's so nice to have people that just in winter. No, in pasta. I don't know what that's in English. Anyway. So I have put, it's recording, yeah. And I have actually put this one on my site, fred.technology. So if you want to go and look at the slides, you can find it there. And what I want to do is kind of just go through like what's the trends in a way within development environments. So kind of the boring thing is the engine itself, and is anything happening there? And I just wanted to show you that, like, I mean, everybody uses Node, and it's kind of like that's the default. Nobody questions that. So the big thing in JavaScript world is Node and NPM. And it actually, the whole world is using these tools. Node is kind of the default. And it has a number here as like how many HTTP requests per second you can do using Node. And then the guy that actually implemented Node said, I'm sorry. So he re-implemented it using the change of the word. So he created Deno. And you can see that it's much faster. And there's probably a lot of other things that is good as well. So in a way, you can say, oh, if you have a car and your car suddenly goes more than twice as fast, wouldn't you use it? Well, in this case, it's not that easy because you can't just replace Deno where you are using Node. So if you want speed, yes, but it's not that easy. So then you have a new one that appeared that's called Bund. So you funny icon. Anyway, so Bund, you can see the speed of that one. That's amazing. And not this is drop-in compatible. So this could be a revolution. Now, you always have to kind of wait and see. Are they really going to make it? You never know with new technology. Is it actually going to be something, or is it just going to, yeah, it was nice, but that's it. But because it is drop-in compatible, you should definitely look into it. And more than that, if you look at Bund, it's kind of like an all-in new toolkit. So you have the runtime that is so fast compared to Node, but it also includes the package manager. And people, when they are trying it, is like, did something happen or not? Because it's so fast. I mean, you use npm install, or some uses yarn, or some uses npm. These are tools that makes it faster. But this one, look at that. Bund install, done. It's like, how is it even possible? And this one even includes Jest compatible, a bundler, and so everything. So it's really like a tool for everything. For me, when I'm using some testing and I'm using npm, when I'm using Node, sorry, I just start up a web server. What I found is for testing, it's so easy, just create the web server. But with Bund, you also have web sockets. And that's kind of the missing link that I'm always, yeah, I would like to have web sockets too. So with Bund, you can just start up the web socket. It's just as easy. So if that's something that you've been like, how do I test that? Use Bund. And so there are many things that are good with Bund. So I'm really excited. But as always, is it gonna succeed or not? But it is drop-in compatible with Node. So that is the good thing. So after all, this is the engine of your car. So now you have a car that is what, 5 times as fast, and all the other tools are like 10 times as fast. So why not look at it? I think another trend is like you want to move to more than just the web. So multi-platform applications. You start with the web and you have all these nice frameworks. React is kind of dominant, 80% of the market, as far as I know. And then you have this nice Svelte. I mean, all of these are interpreted. So you have your JavaScript, and it's kind of comparing the DOM with what is being displayed on the screen and what you have in the code. So there's a difference. So then it will react and show the new changes. But Svelte is actually compiled. So all of that overhead that all of these other tools have gone. So it's 2 times as fast. Oh, I like it. Then you can go to mobile. You can use React Native. You can use Svelte Native. You can use tools to get you to the mobile world. Actually, Expo is a nice new framework in the React ecosystem. So that is even more like what's that called again? That word. It's like they have made it easier for you. So definitely have a look at that. Then, of course, you can go all the way to desktop with just starting on JavaScript. So you have Electron, you have Tori. So most of you have probably been using like Figma and Discord, Visual Studio Code. All of these are actually made using JavaScript, TypeScript, and then brought over to a desktop application. You don't think about it, but it's JavaScript behind them. But of course, it will take some time to take more time to execute than if you had it native. Okay. Yeah, she knows all this. So, and when I have this presentation, I always end up showing Flutter, because why are not more people looking into it? Because this is a framework that works for all platforms. It's actually worse on the web, but it's on the mobile. It's basically native, near native, and it even compiles to the desktop. So you get real native speed, and the worst speed, which is not a problem, is on the web. So why not? And that's one single code, and you can run it on all platforms. And after all, I mean, Google is putting a lot of effort into it. They are using the biggest applications they have, like Google Pay is implemented using Flutter, and the ad system of Google, where they're getting all their money, is implemented using Flutter. So it's not a toy. This is a real application, real environment. So, but what I did find is that when you have like your front-end tool, React, and you're looking for the back-end tool, so you have React and Next. And actually, if you go now and you say npm install or create a React app, you get React with Next. So they have really, that's what they deliver now. It's like you need a front-end application and you need a back-end application. These are tightly integrated. Unfortunately, React Native is not as easily. You can use the Next, you can create the API and whatever, but it's not completely integrated the way that React and Next is. And the same applies for Svelte, because you have Svelte and you have Svelte Kit, front end and back end, and you have Svelte Native, which you have to plug in. So yeah, of course, I had to put up Flutter as well, because there you have one system that works in all environment, and you have something called ServerPod. And if you haven't looked at it, have a look at it. It's like a new world. To me, it's like a new world. So there are interesting tools out there. So this is going kind of into this multi-device environment. So this was my reason why I fell in love with Svelte. If you look at React, it's like weird. You want to define a reactive variable, and you define it using a const. So this is definition. You need a count. So you have to define it as count, constant count, and then you have to have a set count function to change it. But just look how easy it is when you go to Svelte. You just define let count equal 0, not all this messy stuff up there. So I loved it because the compiler does the work behind the scenes. And then I want you to read what comes on the top of the screen now, because then Svelte comes with the next version. And they call it, why did they use the Norwegian word runes to ruin it all? Because now they come with, the reality is that as applications grow in complexity, figuring out which values are reactive and which aren't can get tricky. So this is the same example from their own site as that simple one down there, if you want to have a count button, and they made it worse than React. Okay, so this is the next version of Svelte, and I'm so disappointed. But if you want something to go twice the speed, Svelte should be considered. If you want to go faster than that, Flutter should be considered. So I feel like React is like this big, I've used this picture before, but I think it's still valid. React is like dominating the picture. And then, you see Svelte is like interesting, kind of passing faster in front of it and everything. But nobody noticed my little pet at the bottom here. Flutter is, after all, better than ours. So I'm just telling you, have a look at Flutter. It's interesting. So I want to give some comments about trend in development environments. I mean, what you do is you use Visual Studio Code. That's kind of the new default when it comes to development environment. It runs everything. And then you go to GitHub, where you put your code. And then you use Docker to run things in containers. So this is default in a way. Interestingly, is that you can go to vscode.dev to start up Visual Studio Code in your browser. And if you haven't tried it, go to any of your repositories on GitHub. Just go to your repository and press the full dot. And it will actually start up Visual Studio Code in the browser with that repository. So what I've discovered is that I have some pet projects, and I've set it up so that it's actually hosted on Vercel. So if I commit to master, merge to master, then it will trigger and it will just deploy it to my server. So I can go to my Visual Studio Code. Sorry, I can go to my repository, I edit something. And when I then merge to master, it goes out to the web page. It's that easy. But normally you would have Visual Studio Code and you will start up your server on the back end, stuff like that. But now you have all kinds of tools. Actually coming back to this on GitHub a little bit, but I just wanted to say that even on Docker, they are coming with environment. So to make sure that if you deploy something on the server, you can go to Docker and you can start up a new environment and it will open up development environment. So everything that you develop here locally is as if it's running in the cloud in a container. Okay. So, but the trend is that you go cloud development. So GitHub code spaces for free. I mean, you go to your GitHub and you have then this option like, do you want to download or do you just want to start it? And then where do you want to start it? Do you want to start it in the browser or do you want to start it in Visual Studio Code? But when you do use this code spaces, it's actually showing you your editor so you can write your code, but it's also starting up a server on the back end. So you can install and you can whatever, what you are normally doing on your computer is running in virtual machines automatically. And you see the prices here. So normally if I'm just doing some simple project, 2 cores is fine, but I can scale it up if I want more. But 2 cores, 60 hours free. Amazing. And then storage, 15 gigabyte. Normally, if I have a project, I can have 3 projects before I would have to pay anything for the storage. Now, this is the image that where you have installed all your stuff. So these hours free is when you're actually running it. So if you just leave it, then after some time, it will actually close down by itself. Or once you have started up and all this is running and you find out, nah, I can't work on it anymore. So you stop the servers, but it's still there as an image. So that's why the storage is still there. You can delete that too, because it's easy. You have your repository. You want to start it up in code spaces, just, okay, open it up in code spaces again, and it will run through npm install and everything. So the reason you want to keep it in the storage is because maybe you don't want to do that npm install every time. Not that it takes that much time. And JetBrains has their own system, and it's like everything. I mean, you do programming, but you do everything. So everyone is coming with this. Google has their Project X or IDX. You have to be on a wait list. They haven't approved me yet. I don't know because I'm Googlified and still they haven't approved me yet. But this is actually so that you're supposed to be able to write code, use the AI, and test and deploy to Android and Apple without. Normally, if I want to make an app, I have to have Xcode. I need my Mac. That's why I bought the Mac. I don't know, this is not the Mac, but at home it's my Mac. I don't need it anymore because I can, okay, once they give me access to Project X, I can use that to develop and even deploy it to iOS. Very interesting. So, but everything in the cloud. But there are others as well. Gitpod is one example. Just do it right in your browser. Yeah, the last, then we can discuss a little bit after, is low code and no code. And there's a whole list of them. If you haven't looked into it, I think it's an interesting time because some of them are also coming with AI. I don't know if it's here, and maybe I have it on the next slide. But there's so many now that you can create an application and then just drag and drop. There's no coding needed or very little coding. And even at the bottom here, I have this Flutter flow. So here is Flutter flow. Now it's been around for a while. And you can see here, you just drag in. What I get confused about Flutter is that you have to have a child of a child of a child, and everything is like children of this and children of that. So when I want to build up the UI, it's kind of complicated. But here you can just pull it in, and then it will build the code for you. And if you have a license for this, you can actually just go and look at the code. You can download the code, and you can continue to work on your Flutter application in Visual Studio Code. And then if you want to see how it's running, you just say run, and it will open up another tab, and you can see how this is running in the window. And you can do this for mobile, tab, and desktop.
You can have many people working at the same time.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Which is, by the way, pretty funny, the letters of those two people working on that.
I know. It's very, wow. I didn't see that.
Pay attention to your presentation.
Oh. Wow. Thank you for pointing out that. Okay. Can I edit the video after and cut that out? Google has something called AppSheet. First time I tried it, it's like it gave me almost like the normal Google, like just a line. What do you want to create? And you type in what do you want to create, and then ask you some questions. So there's like an AI in the beginning. It's like, okay, so then you need to have this table and this relationship. Yeah, okay. And then you get an application. You can run it in your, just see it there on the side. Like you're doing it, you're dragging in, you're putting up this, you have lists and forms and relationships, and that's it. So when people want to get started with something, all of these low code, no code, we should know more about them, I feel. You can go to Microsoft Power Apps, probably. I'm not in that Microsoft world, but there's so much powerful applications. And you can click on, I think it's this one. This, as I said, this is on my site. And if you click on this one, it will bring you to the page that explains why this is important, give the arguments. And basically, this is what I kind of wanted to go through, a little bit like the runtime engine. Suddenly, it's at least 5 times as fast. And the tools around, like for the developer tools, there's a revolution going on. So be aware of that. Check out Bun. When it comes to development environments, it's cloud development. I mean, I think the reason why Google is putting so much into this Project X is because they don't intend to give you a development environment in Windows or on Apple. They intend to give you a development environment on the Chrome OS or on the tablet. So all you need is a tablet, and you start it all in the browser. You can do full development in your browser. So that's it. So most of what I've said is not useful for you, because as I have tried now a couple of times, I said like, oh, I found some new interesting technology, and then the customer said no. And then I said, oh, I found a new interesting technology, and then my team said no, because it's new technology. So you're probably not going to be able to use much of this for quite a while, because maybe if you start up on a new project, you should consider it and see where the customer wants to go. I mean, do you really just want the website, or do you actually want to have some mobile app? And do you want to do double work, or do it with one code only? So there are some questions you could ask. But because I never get to do it at work, I have my pet project. So if I go to my hestan.org, and at the bottom, there's a link to the blog, and then there's a developer program, because I try to use all this, Gazelle, Next, GraphQL, and all that stuff in this pet project, because I need to practice. I need to test this. This is my way of doing it. Okay, that's it. Any questions or comments? Or oh, I have somebody writing here. Oh no, it's just the transcript that makes me confused. Oh, I was so hopeful. Any questions?
I think the criteria of speed, it's seductive, and it's important. But the thing that matters to me, I think most is that maintainability. Like if I write the code, is it maintainable? Is it simple? Is it going to be a headache for me later as I build up more functionality? I'm just so averse to creating some nightmare scenario for myself down the road.
Yeah.
So that's my key criteria. Did any of these stand out for like so simple, so easy to maintain, takes care of itself?
I have a previous colleague, and this was some years back, and like, what would I suggest? I told him, React is kind of cowboy land. It's I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship to React. It's getting better, but at the time I was no. Angular is a little bit too advanced, so I suggested Vue, and he's like totally into that. And the thing is that the framework that he's chosen is Quasar, so it's a Vue edition framework, so he can go for the web, but it's also so easy to go to the mobile and everything like that. So it's like, is it faster when you execute it, or is it faster to develop it? So I think you have to find something that you are comfortable with. Yeah. But how do you do that? It's a process. It's a process. And as I said, I feel that I need to try out this. I need to have more experience with it. But you're playing with something totally different. You're playing with Scala.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that
It's
fast? Faster?
it is fast,
Yeah.
and it's about as type safe as it gets.
Yeah.
It's and it's a nice looking language. Looks like Ruby. I like Ruby.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, there are actually so many.
Yeah.
So you have Ruby, you have Elm, you have so many tools you can. What about Solid and so on?
Yeah.
You've been using Preact. So Preact and okay, yeah. So there's so many tools, but the most dominant tool is React.
Yeah.
And even going to the front end back end situation, because I wanted to test out Next, and I got the no. Because now we're not ready for that. Maybe some years down the line. But I want to know, because Next and React is now so tightly integrated, and the way the app router, because they have two routers, there's the page routers, which is single page application in the front end, but now they have this app router, and it's beautiful. Just go and look, read the documentation on the app router. It's amazing. So there's so many nice tools. But yeah, okay, that was. Any other questions?
And did you say we can use VS Code with our Git repo?
You go to your Git repo, you press dot.
You only press dot?
You press dot. Okay, I'll show you. Where's my here? Escape. Where am I? I'm on this one. Very difficult to see where I am, but okay. GitHub.com. Okay. Okay, let's go click to learn. And dot. See if it does what I'm saying. Dot. Stop doing that. Annoying. Maybe because they actually put it on the menu here now. So, oh, okay, okay. probably the reason why. Sign in. Did I click on sign in? Oh. Okay. Hmm.
You are missing the room by 8.
Mail at x Polygon. Yes. If I got it right. Okay, let's try again. We are here. And I'm using dot. Oh, that's just my dot. Setting up. It's cool. And that's it, basically. So the other one, because we're here now, is, let's go back to the GitHub. GitHub experiment, yes. And let's go to this one. And you see here on the code, you have, there's a branch that I have already started, and then I stopped it, but it's there. So if I click on this one, whoops, it's actually starting up Visual Studio Code in my browser, but starting up everything as a virtual server running too. So setting up remote connections, starting code space. So I can say npm, the normal npm run dev.
You have your whole environment.
The whole environment is out there in the cloud, 2 cores. And if I'm not happy with 2 cores, I can go for 4, 8, 16. Just get the speed and pay more or spend more hours. Yes. So is it ready? Okay. And I'm never quite sure what I was using. So let's go for the package JSON and test. It's script dev, okay. npm run dev. And let's see. Oh, this is starting up the server. This is probably using something faster than it's probably using Vite. But it's doing a forward. So normally you would have like your local host, 8080 or something like that. But then it's connecting to a forwarded site. That's it. It's, I love it. Yeah, that's it.
Is there any successful projects or companies who use Flutter?
Actually, I think like there are there is a list of companies that uses Flutter, but I'm not sure if I can find it. I know that, as I said, Google is using it on those 2 biggest applications, like Google Pay and Google Ads, which is huge. Toyota is using it in their cars for the like entertainment screen. So there are a number of users. It's heavily used in China. So more on Asia part. In India and China, it's actually 40% of all apps in the App Store, in the Play Google, 40% is made using Flutter. So yeah. Yeah, because I'm on this site now, then I can show you at the bottom here, you have blog, and on the blog, you have the developer. So I'm just trying to invite people to join me and learn stuff like, I'm going to add more, but this is like, I want to know, how do I use Cloudflare? how do I set up domain and DNS? I'm not good at that, but I have a guy on the team. So he is an expert. So he helps me. Web hosting, using the cell. I'm using the cell. I love it. And there's so much power in it. And React and Next, I'm using those tools on this project. And then code spaces. I mean, why should we? Normally, when I start up a project, it's like, have you done your onboarding yet? And have you gotten your equipment or your development environment? It takes days before you're ready to start. Now here you just go dot, basically, or just open it in code spaces and you're ready. So I think this is so cool. HighGraph is a headless CMS. So when I need to create, I have tested out, I need to create the content management system. I need to have an editor. And of course I can go and find the editor. There are hundreds of them. I don't know which one, but you have to maintain it. You have to make it right. I can just use a headless CMS that people log in, edit text in the browser, and I can extract that information using GraphQL and put it wherever I want. This is the kind of technology that I want to practice on. So you're welcome if you want to. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stop the recording. Okay. Stop recording. Stop recording.